The oldest question that has ever been asked about storytelling: what is the most important component of any story? Is it taking advantage of a genre that's being talked about the most at the moment, or the styles in which the story is told? Or is it something as simple as just the characters that resides in everything that I just mentioned? Because would any of the series that has been hailed as being one of the best that this medium has to offer hold up if their foundations weren't just as strong as everything else? Frieren Beyond's Journey End begins his tale at the end of the expedition of the hero's party. You don't even get as much as a mental image of the demon lord that they just slain, let alone the process in which where they got to where they are. They made sure to make it clear right away this is about the journey's end and they want our undivided attention to what's happening in the now. So what could possibly be all that interesting about what happens after the credits finished rolling? Well, apparently a lot. Frieren, who's our main, is an elf, and like all elves in fiction, they tend to have a long lifespan in comparison to that of a human. For what seemed to be a life-altering event through experiences and specifically time to that of her party, which consisted of 4 individuals, 2 of which were humans. Quite the contrast to Frieren, who saw it as nothing more than just a mundane task. The only comparison I can make to the real world is when you have a pet bug as a child, as you do because your parents won't let you have an actual pet. You leave it unattended to go to school and you come home to this. Frieren is apathetic towards her party members because she's viewing the world through a different lens, a lens that has been on record for a very long time. You could say that she got desensitized to a lot of things that could stir up emotions in that of a human a long time ago. The party's grand finale to their journey, they get to enjoy the Era meteor shower, which happens once every 50 years. And Frieren suggests that they should do this again when it returns. At her special spot, front row seats to the best view of the meteor shower. Himmel then laughs at the seemingly ridiculous proposal of scheduling something so far in advance. And as the seemingly humorous nature of the proposal subsides, reality sets back in and he puts on a serious face and agrees to her request. Because knowing her, this wasn't the supposedly happy reunion that it may look on the surface. Well, she kept her word. Maybe too strictly because she literally visits them 50 years after initial departure. The surprise for Frieren seeing a human age so drastically in what seems to be a short change in scenery probably never gets old, but the same couldn't be said about Himmel. The reunion was as heartwarming as you'd expect, the nostalgia of being together once again. The party that saved the world and took down the demon lord. And as the audience, with a heavy heart and teary eyes, we get a proper send-off for a character that we only knew for a portion of a single episode. Time might have gotten the better of Himmel, but it seems that emotions that Frieren wasn't consciously aware she had, were the things that got in the better of Frieren. Because to her own surprise, she wept due to his passing, something she probably didn't initially intend to do. You might be wondering, where does the story take us now after an intro like that? Well, literally anything else. Because when you finally beat a game and you no longer have the main storyline getting in the way of things you might actually want to do instead, you kinda just find stuff to do that interests you, and for Frieren, it's collecting spells. You might be wondering, how did she end up with a hobby like that? Well, because in her own words, an idiot complimented on her collection of spells. Magic, which was something that she originally just liked somewhat, turned into what you could maybe call her purpose, and with a lifespan as long as hers, it's necessary to find something to fill in the time. The reality of her hobby may not be as eventful as you might have thought in your head, where she's finding new spells to power up even further. Because in this scenario, it literally has nothing to do with furthering her character. Whether it's doing somebody's daily farming chores to obtain a spell to produce warm teas, or removing rust from statues, or even something that seemingly has no value and could be even considered a net negative, turning sweet grapes into sour ones. This is the path that Frieren decided to take. But this time around, with what may seem to be a slight caveat to her at the start, to learn more about humans might actually end up being her new current purpose. The charm of Frieren stems from her internal conflicts that cannot be solved by traditional means that we're used to. She can't depend on people through the power of friendship to overcome her obstacles, as this is an issue that she has and has alone. Our main character isn't the seemingly perfect being that is amazing all around and wins the heart of their love interest, and then proceeds to date them happily ever after. It's a story about personal growth, to regain something that was lost through the passage of time due to simply existing longer than those around her. A flawed character on a journey that she'll inevitably have to go through on her own in the end. The hardships that come as a result of her long lifespan isn't something that can simply just go away, and finding a way to avoid them was never the actual goal, but rather how to best deal with it and appreciate the time that others chose to spend with her. However little and insignificant it may seem to be to her, it could be a lifetime to others, even if it could be a lonely journey in the end. That doesn't mean she can't be guided in the right direction by those she meets along the way, because oftentimes the worst of enemies are the ones that are conjured up by ourselves. This is an adaptation that new and old fans can be excited about, just due to the amount of care being placed into the production, because if it's Madhouse pulling out all stops, you already know that we're all in for a treat. So if you're a fan of emotionally charged and character-driven stories, Frieren Beyond Journey's End might be something that you want to check out. If you made it to the end, thank you so much for watching, and until next time.